Welcome to Any Recapped. Today we will cover Black Bullet. A large refugee camp near Tokyo is attacked by the monstrous Gastria, and a little boy named Rentaro is caught in the middle of the chaos. A memory of an old man telling him to be strong if he does not want to die is the only thing that keeps him going. 10 years later, Rentaro is reporting on duty as a civil officer, as he is now working while studying to battle against the Gastria. The police on the scene have the apartment where the Gastria is supposedly located under lockdown, but some of their men have gone ahead on their own. Hearing that, Rentaro breaks into the apartment, but he is too late as the officers are already dead. However, instead of the Gastria, a masked man is inside. Declaring that he is the one who killed them, he antagonizes Rentaro to attack him. Despite Rentaro's hardest efforts, the masked man is too strong for him to handle, and he ends up killing any police officers that come in to provide assistance. Before running away through the window, the masked man declares that he will track down the Gastria first and destroy the world. A little girl is running towards Rentaro's location, furious that he left her behind. On her way, she stumbles upon a badly injured man and quickly realizes that he has been infected by the Gastria. The man transforms into a monster right in front of her and quickly attacks her. Noticing the commotion nearby, Rentaro rushes together with a police officer, and they start shooting at the Gastria. But the police officer's gun is ineffective, as it does not have special bullets made out of uranium like Rentaro does. Just as Rentaro runs out of bullets, the little girl from before jumps back into the fight and obliterates the Gastria with her devastating kicks. It turns out she is Rentaro's partner, also known as an initiator, Enju. Reminding Rentaro of a limited-time sale, the two of them quickly run away from the scene. When Rentaro returns to his boss, Kizura, he is given an earful for forgetting to get the reward from the police. Although she seems to be even more upset that he never told her about the sale. Kizura is worried about how there is no news about the Gastria who infected that man and declares that they will work on tracking it down next. To that end, Rentaro visits the eccentric scientist, Sumair. The two of them are quite familiar with each other, and she is very knowledgeable about the Gastria. She gives Rentaro a brief lesson on how the Gastria virus takes over humans, transforming them into Gastria after it takes over half of their bodies. As it mutates, the Gastria can develop unique powers, and she believes that one such power is helping the current Gastria in the city to remain hidden. The next day, Rentaro brings Enju to her school, reminding her to keep her true identity a secret before he rides onto the edge of the city. Thinking to himself, he reveals that 10 years ago, the Gastria virus suddenly appeared and decimated humanity. In rare cases, when pregnant women get infected by it, their children are born as girls with red eyes and have the virus deeply rooted in them. Thanks to that, they manifest unique powers, but as they are partially Gastria, may refuse to accept them as humans and call them cursed children. The remaining pockets of humanity have surrounded themselves by gigantic monoliths out of uranium, which the Gastria have severe reactions to. Thanks to that, the humanity has been given a chance to survive and fight back, and on the front of the battle against Gastria are the cursed children, who could become initiators like Enju. Shortly thereafter, Kizura notifies Rentaro that they have been summoned to the Ministry of Defense for a new job. Upon arriving there, they find almost all of the civil officers from the Tokyo area already present. Rentaro immediately gets into an argument with a powerful promoter, Shogun, because he views initiators to be nothing more than tools, but his employer diffuses the situation before it escalates. Shortly thereafter, they are all contacted by none other than Seitonshi, the ruler of the Tokyo area, who is accompanied by Kikunojo, Rentaro's adoptive father and Kizura's grandfather. Second, she states how she had them gather here because she has two jobs for them. One is to eliminate the Gastria that caused the recent infection incident, while the other is to retrieve a special case that is supposedly located inside of the Gastria. She refuses to reveal any details about the contents of the case, and at that moment, the masked man from before makes his appearance. Introducing himself as Kajitane, he also reveals to be a promoter by bringing in his daughter, Kohina, who is also his initiator. Declaring how he will be the one to claim the mysterious case and bring extinction to the Tokyo area, he taunts everyone present to bet their lives on who will get the case first. All of the civil officers present open fire at him, but he uses a special barrier field to stop and return all the bullets back at them, creating a bloody mess in the conference room. Afterward, he bids his farewell and the two of them escape, so Seitonshi adds another condition to the job, namely to retrieve the case before Kajitane does. Returning home, Rentaro walks with Enji, and they run into a gang picking on a cursed child. The police get involved, but instead of helping the child, they detain her and take her with them. Enji remembers her as one of the girls she grew up with, so Rentaro gives chase after the police to make sure she is safe. But the police officers bring her to an abandoned building and shoot her, stating how this is what should be done with all of the cursed children. As soon as they leave, Rentaro rushes to her side and realizes that she is still alive, so he brings her to a doctor, saving her life. As soon as he leaves the private clinic, he is suddenly ambushed by Kapitan and Kohina, but Enju comes right in time to stand in Kohina's way and protect Rentaro. Then Kapitan changes his approach, reminding Rentaro how unjust the world is towards the cursed children, and asking to join his side so they could bring the extinction together. Rentaro quickly refuses his offer, sticking to his belief, seeing that Kapitan and Kohina leave. But the next day, Rentaro is notified that Enju's school found that she is a cursed child. This caused quite a scene, so she ended up running away. Without wasting any time, Rentaro starts searching for her. After confirming she's not home, he goes to the place where she grew up and asks the other cursed children there. They bring him to an old man named Matsuzaki, who is taking care of the girls and teaching them how to hide their naturally red eyes. He tells Rentaro that he did not see the girl, but if he is looking for another initiator to become his partner, he can always bring it up with the civil officer's agency. This makes Rentaro upset, and he declares that Enju is not just a replaceable tool to him, remembering how they spent the last year together after they got paired up and gradually became close to each other. Apologizing for his angry outburst, Rentaro leaves to continue his search. Once he is gone, Matsuzaki asks Enju, who was hiding there the entire time, if she is sure that she wants to let a kind person like him go. Although she is crying, Enju appears very happy to have heard those words from Rentaro. The next day, Rentaro is visiting Sumire in order to get some advice on what to do when he gets a call from the school, telling him that Enju has returned. Rushing to her school, Rentaro arrives in time to see her getting bullied by her peers for being a cursed child. Even though she is trying to reach out to her former friends, explaining that she is not a monster like the Gastria are, they do not listen and refuse to accept her. Rentaro comforts her, and at that moment, a helicopter comes to pick them up as the Gastria they are after has been spotted. Extremely frustrated by everything that happened, Enju jumps out of the helicopter and attacks the Gastria in midair. Rentaro follows after, but when he arrives, Enju has already beaten the Gastria on her own. After killing the Gastria, she hugs Rentaro and cries, hoping that this will be enough for others to accept her. Equally frustrated by the situation, Rentaro promises her that no matter what, she will always have him, and he will never abandon her side. Once Enju calms down a little, Rentaro proceeds to retrieve the mysterious case, but at that moment he is attacked by Kapitan. Enju tries to help him, but Kohina gets in her way, keeping her busy. Seeing that he cannot win, Rentaro makes Enju run away to save her life, while he gets finished off by both Kapitan and Kohina. Running away, Enju swears she will get help as quickly as possible. As he loses consciousness, Rentaro remembers how Sumer operated on him in the past. The dream is cut short as he regains his senses in a hospital, accompanied by Kumar and Enju, who remain by his side this entire time. Kumar tells him that Saitenshi explained how inside of the case is a catalyst which can summon a Gastria powerful enough to overcome and destroy the monoliths themselves, dooming the entire Tokyo area. Saitenshi contacts Rentaro directly and asks him to join the other civil officers in their pursuit of Kapitan, believing that he is the most suited one for this mission. As soon as his injuries are taken care of, Rentaro visits Sumer to get his gear, and she gives him new experimental drugs which are based on Gastria's recovery powers. Rearmed and prepared, Rentaro and Enju fly beyond the monoliths together with other civil officers, pursuing Kapitan deep into Gastria territory. After touching down, all of the civil officers spread out, each team determined to be the one who will bring back the catalyst, thereby securing the reward for themselves. While fighting Gastria, Rentaro and Enju happen upon Shogun's initiator, Ko. She is injured and all by herself. After Rentaro treats her wounds, she tells him how she got separated from Shogun because of a Gastria ambush. Surprised by the fact that someone cares about her, Ko reveals how envious she is of Enju, as she has a promoter that does not see her as a tool. Suddenly, she gets contacted by Shogun via radio, and he tells her that he found the masked man requesting her to come and back him up. And so Rentaro and Enju accompany Ko, determined to stop Kapitan. Once they get close to the action, Ko decides to stay behind and hold off the Gastria as long as she can, as the sounds of fighting between the civil officers and Kapitan have drawn them out. Rentaro and Enju continue and quickly run into the corpses of multiple civil officers, as well as Shogun. None of them seem to be a challenge to Kapitan. The situation is observed by Saitenshi and her men, who are worried about the way things are going. Kizaru joins them and states how Rentaro will definitely win because he has undergone similar body modifications to Kapitan. It turns out that in the past, when her family home got attacked by Gastria, who killed her parents, Rentaro was the one who protected her. In the process, he lost an eye, an arm, and a leg. Then Sumire operated on him and replaced his lost body parts with mechanical replicas, made out of Varanium, so he would become a powerful asset against the Gastria. At that moment, Kajetan finds that out the hard way as Rentaro manages to punch through his barrier with his mechanical arm. This makes Kajetan reveal his true reason behind summoning the Gastria, as he only wants the chaos of war to return, so his life would have a purpose once more. Despite Rentaro's power, Kajetan manages to land a fatal blow on him. Realizing that he is about to die, Rentaro resorts to using the experimental drug given to him, risking the chance of turning into a Gastria himself. Luckily, his body endures and he remains human, with the Gastria's effect only healing his wound in an instant. This allows him to launch a surprise attack at Kajetan, knocking him out and throwing him into the sea. Seeing Kajetan fall makes Kohina lose all will to fight as she breaks down into tears. Just as they are about to celebrate the success of their operation, a massive Gastria appears out of the water and heads towards Tokyo. Contacting Rentaro, Kizura tells him that there is a powerful weapon called the Heaven's Ladder nearby, which was meant to be used against such massive Gastria, but ended up behind enemy lines. They are given permission by Seitanchi to fire it, so Rentaro and Enju waste no time. Taking control of the huge weapon, they aim it at the Gastria, but as they are about to fire, they notice that it has no Varanium ammunition loaded. To compensate for the lack of ammunition, Rentaro removes his Varanium-made arm and loads it into the cannon. This proves to work as the weapon comes online, so Rentaro grabs the trigger and blasts away. The insanely powerful Varanium blast hits the Gastria, successfully destroying it in one go. With the Gastria destroyed, Rentaro goes to search for Kayo. It turns out she has been fighting against Gastria this entire time, and in the process got infected beyond the tolerable limit. As her body starts turning, she begs Rentaro to kill her before she turns into a monster. Realizing that there is no saving her, Rentaro fulfills her last requests with tears in his eyes. Because of the recent events, Seitanchi requests Rentaro to serve as her bodyguard in the upcoming days, since she will be meeting President Seitek, who represents the Osaka area. She reasons that Seitek timed his visit to be exactly when Kikunojo is on an important mission abroad, so she expects that some foul play will be involved. At first, Rentaro is reluctant to accept, stating how she already has dedicated bodyguards. But as the commander of the bodyguards, Takudo, threatens him to refuse the job, Rentaro decides to take it. On his way back from Seitanchi's palace, Rentaro runs into a little girl getting bullied by some ruffians. After scaring them off, he tends to the girl, who appears to be lost and barely awake. She thanks him for his help and introduces herself as Tina. Worried about her safety, Rentaro gives her his number to call him if she needs help. After bidding farewell to each other, Tina gets contacted by her owner, revealing that she is sent here to assassinate Seitanchi. To that end, she goes to retrieve weapons that have been smuggled into the city for her. On her way back, she gets stopped by the police, but despite her owner ordering her to kill the officer, she only puts him in the hospital. During that time, she shows her red eyes, revealing to be one of the cursed children as well. Back in Rentaro's apartment, he is visited by Mori, who happens to be the student council president at his school, as well as the daughter of the large-scale weapons company, Shiba Heavy Weapons. She is hungry and wants Rentaro to prepare some food for her. She is not the only one, as suddenly Kizura comes by with the same request. The two girls do not tolerate each other, and once Mori starts flirting with Rentaro, Kizura gets angry, and they start fighting. The next day, Rentaro meets with Seitanchi to start his work as her bodyguard, escorting her to her meeting with Seitek. During the meeting, Seitek reveals his desire for Japan to be the first country to recover from the Gastria invasion, as that will help them control other countries down the line. To achieve that goal, he will do anything that needs to be done. On the other hand, Seitanchi wants to nurture friendly relations and peace, not only within Japanese areas, but also with other countries. Once their meeting ends, Seitanchi and Rentaro are being driven back to Seitanchi's residence when they suddenly get fired upon by a sniper from very far away. Thanks to Enju and Rentaro's quick reactions, they are able to foil the assassination, and she is successfully escorted away by the other guards. It turns out that the sniper is none other than Tina, but both Rentaro and Tina were too far away to make out who got into each other's way, so they wonder who their new foe is. The next morning, Rentaro meets up with Tina, and the two of them hang out, getting to know each other as he takes her out for breakfast. Tina tells him that he is the first person who has been nice to her since her parents died, and she really likes him. Her phone rings and she realizes it's time to go, but not before making a promise to meet again soon. The phone call turns out to be Tina's owner, who orders her to assassinate Kizura next, as she is the owner of the civil officer's company that got in their way. That evening, Tina goes into action and confronts Kizura head-on in her office building. But Kizura is not weak and she puts up a fight, buying herself enough time for Rentaro to come to her rescue. Seeing Kizaru in trouble, Rentaro quickly attacks the assassin, and once they are separated, he realizes that she is none other than Tina. Both of them are shocked and disturbed to see each other like this. Tina figures that it is Rentaro who stopped her assassination attempt, and Rentaro figures that the sniper in question was Tina. Tina tries to convince Rentaro to stand down, but he is determined to protect Kizaru. A disorganized scuffle ensues, during which Tina manages to make her escape. The stressful situation made Kizaru's weak kidneys act up, so she is rushed to the hospital. Even though she has the option to have kidney surgery, she wants to stay like this, so she would never forget what happened in her past. With Kizaru opening up to him, Rentaro tries to make a move and reveal his feelings for her, but Enju appears and gets in the way. Now armed with the knowledge about the sniper, Kizaru orders Rentaro to make sure Tina is stopped. The next meeting between Saitenshi and Seitake is suddenly scheduled, which makes Rentaro realize that Seitake must be the one ordering the assassination attempts, and the meetings serve to lure her out. Despite that information, Saitenshi decides to proceed with the meeting, and just as expected, another attempt at her life is made as soon as she reaches her destination. Rentaro steps in to protect her, getting himself injured in the process. Luckily, they manage to get away to the safety of a nearby underground garage. With Rentaro injured, Enju goes ahead on her own to confront Tina, but as soon as she leaves, Saitenshi urges Rentaro to call Enju off, stating how she ran a background check on Tina and found out that she is in fact one of the strongest initiators in the world. Rentaro quickly calls Enju, but instead of Enju, it is Tina who picks up the phone, making Rentaro realize that Enju has already been taken out. Panicked, Rentaro rushes to the hospital after Enju has been brought in. Even though she is in a bad shape, the doctor reassures him that she will be alright, but she will need to be sedated for the next couple of days. Kizaru, who arrived at the hospital with him, tells him that the next meeting between Saitenshi and Seitake is scheduled for the next day. Hearing that makes Rentaro weary, as he considers Tina to be too strong for him to handle on his own. At the same time, he realizes that Tina is avoiding killing people when she can, as Enju could have been easily killed. Just as he is trying to make up his mind on his next move, Rentaro is approached by Takuto, who insists that Rentaro stops trying to protect Saitenshi and leaves that duty to him. Yet again, this only serves to fuel Rentaro's determination, and he declares that he will protect her no matter what. He tells Takuto to spread the fake information about Saitenshi's transport, which will serve to lure out Tina. With only a day left to prepare, Rentaro uses everything at his disposal to learn more about Tina's weapons and tools, while practicing how to fight against snipers in combat simulations. At the same time, Tina's owner contacts her, upset that she did not kill those who got in her way as he ordered her to do. Reminding her to whom she belongs, he tells her to kill herself if she fails to take out Saitenshi on her next attempt. The trap works and Tina is baited to the location as planned. Once Rentaro arrives to confront her, she calls him and asks him to withdraw or she will have to kill him. But instead of listening to her, he states that he will stop her. And just like that, the showdown between them begins. Slowly and methodically, Rentaro starts taking out the defenses she had set up, eventually reaching her location. But even in close-quarter combat, Tina is extremely skilled, and she manages to beat Rentaro. She slowly prepares herself to finish him off, reluctantly saying how she has to do this as she has nothing else to live for. Rentaro feels sorry for her, and at that moment a flashbang that failed to activate earlier explodes, completely catching Tina off guard and blinding her. This gives Rentaro a chance for a counterattack, and he takes it. Chaining a devastating combo of blows, he somehow manages to beat her. But instead of taking her life, he thanks her for saving Enju and brings her with him. Tina is happy to hear those words and tells him that he will have to take responsibility for her. Just as Rentaro agrees, Tina suddenly gets shot by Takuto, who arrive at the location after ensuring that Saitenshi has reached her destination. His men restrain Rentaro while he prepares to fill Tina full of bullet holes, wondering how many rounds she will be able to endure as they are not out of uranium. Rentaro screams at him to stop, but Takuto is enjoying Rentaro's current expressions and wants to pay him back for the way he defied him before. Just as he is about to kill Tina, Saitenshi herself arrives at the scene. No one is more shocked to see her there than Takuto. As it turns out, she suspected that Takuto is up to something once he and his unit suddenly disappeared from the meeting, so she canceled it and followed after them. It is then that she asks Rentaro what he would like as a reward for saving her life. Without hesitation, he asks for power, as he wants more power to protect those important to him. Saitenshi honors his request on the spot, promoting him to a higher rank of civil officer, effectively making him Takuto's superior. Rentaro wastes no time paying Takuto back for what he did to Tina, and after inflicting a gunshot wound on him, he orders him to leave and never return, or he will be shot for treason. A week has passed since Tina has been taken into Saitenshi's custody. Rentaro arrives at the office to check in on Kizaru and Enju and is shocked to suddenly see Tina there as well. It turns out that she has been allowed to join Kizaru's agency and is going to work at Rentaro's side from here on out. In the middle of the night, one of the Varanian monoliths suddenly gets overrun by Gastrie, who kills all of the soldiers stationed there. Rentaro and Kizaru have become teachers for a class of cursed children who Enju joined after the incident at her school. Although they are teaching them in ruins far away from the city, they are doing their best to make sure they get proper education. During class, they are suddenly visited by Seitenshi. She has an urgent meeting with Rentaro and Kizaru, telling them about the Gastrie attack at the monolith. Apparently, there is a Gastrie capable of destroying the monolith called Aldebaran, which has injected it with a Varanium corroding fluid. They estimate that in 6 days, the monolith will collapse, which will allow all of the Gastrie to pass through the protective field and wipe out the entire Tokyo area. Construction has begun on a secondary monolith, but it will take too long for it to finish, so they need civil officers to prepare squads and join with the military to fight back the Gastria when they come. Once the monolith falls, they will need to hold out for 3 days to ensure the second monolith is built. Returning home, Rentaro is burdened by the struggle ahead, but Enju and Tina cheer him up. The next day, he spends together with Tina, showing her around the Tokyo area. Along the way, they run into large-scale protests against the cursed children. It turns out that the people did not like the fact that assassination attempts at Seitenshi were conducted by a cursed child, as well as the whole drama with the masked man, who also had a cursed child at his side. Along the way, Rentaro drops by the place of an old acquaintance and a fellow civil officer, Tamaki. Although Tamaki's sister, Yuzuki, who is also Tamaki's initiator, does not like Rentaro, Tamaki still hears him out. Rentaro wants the two of them to join his squad for the upcoming battle against the Gastria. Tamaki does not like the idea, but after seeing just how determined Rentaro is, he decides to put him to a test. If Rentaro and Tina can beat the two of them in a sparring match, they will join them. The match is decided rather quickly, with neither Tamaki nor Yutsuki standing a chance against Rentaro and Tina. Surprised by Rentaro's growth, Tamaki is happy to remain true to his word, promising he will fight at his side when the time comes. The news about the monolith corroding away reaches the general public and panic begins to spread. Unhappy that the government did not tell them about it as soon as they found out only serves to fuel the already existing protests of all the people who dislike Seitenshi and her policies. At the civil officers' camp, Rentaro is trying to get more people so his squad can become officially recognized. While searching for possible candidates, he stumbles upon the bodies of an unknown promoter and initiator pair. Hearing a commotion nearby, he thinks it could be the ones behind the murder, but as he takes a look, he spots his old friend and senior, Shoma. Shoma and his initiator have gotten into some trouble with another civil officer, so a fight breaks out, but Shoma and his partner are able to easily defeat the other officer pair. As soon as the fight is over, Rentaro approaches Shoma, happy to see him again after such a long time. It turns out that Shoma wants to join Rentaro's squad and fight by his side. Thus their squad becomes official, and once everyone is gathered up, Shoma introduces his initiator, Midori. She is a rather unique cursed child as her Gastrie power has made her grow cat ears, which she keeps hidden under a large witch hat. Despite their squad being official, Rentaro voices his displeasure with there being only 6 of them, as he would prefer if they had 10 members so they can properly cover for each other. At that moment, Kizaru shows up as well, declaring that she will be joining his squad together with Tina, acting as her promoter. Rentaro gets upset at Kizaru, stating how this would be bad for her health, but she is unable to be swayed, showing how determined she is to do her part and defend the Tokyo area. Commander Geto, who is in charge of the civil officers' squads, summons all of them for a motivating speech. During the speech, he explains the combat plan for the battle ahead, stating how they will be acting as backup for the army and act as necessary. After the speech, Rentaro gets some time alone with Kizaru, where he promises to do his best to keep her safe. But before he can confess his feelings to her, the rest of the squad shows up, interrupting them. The next day, Rentaro and Kizaru hold their class for the cursed children as if everything is in order. During the class, they give the girls an assignment to write what they would like to become in the future. After learning their hopes and dreams, he brings them along on a field trip. They go to the Flames of Revolution Monument, where a great battle against the Gastrie happened in the past and the humans emerged victorious, which allowed them to secure the Tokyo area. The girls are all extremely happy with Rentaro and his efforts to teach them, and they are not shy to show it. That night, Kizaru and Rentaro inspect the corroding monolith, and Rentaro figures that the reason the Gastrie could get so close to corrode, it must be because there was something wrong with the monolith from the beginning. Agreeing with his reasoning, Kizaru decides that she will pull some strings and investigate the monolith herself. Afterward, the two of them spend some more quiet time together, where Kizara tells Rentaro how happy she is to be able to spend time like this with him and everyone else. That is why she wants to fight as hard as she can to make sure they can continue living like this. Rentaro promises yet again that he will protect her, this time managing to hold hands with her as well. The unrest on the streets is getting out of hand as most people have decided how the lottery system to determine who gets to be in shelters is rigged. Kizara gets the information she was looking for, but as soon as she reads it, she throws the papers into the fire, refusing to elaborate. Rentaro saves some of the papers and reads that it was her older brother who was in charge of the corroding monolith's construction. The next morning, Rentaro heads out with Enju to teach the cursed children once more, leaving Kizara behind to rest. But as soon as they arrive, he is shocked to see that their classroom is a crime scene. It turns out that some of the protesters decided to take out their frustrations with the gastry on the cursed children and have set up a uranium bomb there. All of the girls ended up caught in the blast and lost their lives, and Rentaro is requested to confirm their identities. Just as he is done with the depressing task, Enju shows up and forces her way to see her friends. Realizing that they are all gone, she is overcome by grief. Dazed by what happened, Rentaro gets on the rooftop and reads what the girls wrote to be their future dreams. Kizara calls him to try and comfort him as Rentaro is pissed off at what the people he is working so hard to protect are doing. Kizara's words manage to get through to him and he calms down, but everything suddenly changes as the corroded monolith collapses earlier than expected. Despite the trauma they just went through, Rentaro gets Enju and the two of them head out. The battle against the gastry and the army is fierce, and while the civil officers are waiting for the army to signal them for help, the army's position suddenly gets overrun. With a horde of gastry heading straight for them, Rentaro decides to break the formation and lead his squad away to secure their flank and prevent them from getting encircled. They encounter many gastria, but by working together, they manage to take them all out, securing the flank. However, as they return to rejoin the other civil officers, they see that their position got completely overrun as well, with most of them already dead or dying. Gato's son, who was in charge of this attachment, is still alive, but his initiator got killed by something he calls the Spear of Light. Just then, a gastria shows up and eats him, before the Spear of Light rains down on the civil officers once more, cutting through their ranks. At the same time, the Aldebaran shows up and signals for the gastria to retreat. Thanks to that, the civil officers are given a chance to regroup. Even so, Rentaro realizes that all of the gastria they have slain have already been replenished by all of the human that got infected in the process. After checking in on the injured survivors, Rentaro regroups with his squad and they wonder what they can do about the Spear of Light, because if it strikes again, it will have no chance against it. During their meeting, Rentaro is summoned by Gato. Upon arriving before Gato, Rentaro tells him what he figured out, namely that Aldebaran controls the gastria through pheromones, so if he has slain all of the gastria, it will become disorganized and easier to handle. However, Gato reveals that he was the one fighting against the Aldebaran, and despite cutting its head off, he was unable to kill it as it just started regenerating. Not only that, but the Spear of Light comes from a gastria they named Pleiades, who is equally as dangerous as Aldebaran. It is then that Gato reminds Rentaro how his squad left the formation without orders, and because of that, he is subject to capital punishment. In order for them to have a chance in this war, he wants Rentaro to go on a suicide mission, infiltrating the gastria and taking out the Pleiades. If he does that, his squad will not be punished for abandoning their position. Left without choice, Rentaro gathers his gear and heads out on his own. Kizara stops him and suggests they should just run off on their own, but Rentaro is determined to try and do what he can in order to protect the Tokyo area. On his way, he is ambushed by powerful gastria. Just as it seems that they are about to kill him, his life gets saved by none other than Kagutane and his daughter. Kagutane helps Rentaro treat his wound, even giving him medicine to suppress the infection. Wondering what he is doing out in gastria territory, Rentaro reveals his mission to the masked man. This piques Kagutane's interest, and he offers Rentaro to join his side once again. But Rentaro refuses, telling Kagutane that he will never misuse his powers. Despite that, Kagutane decides to follow after Rentaro, giving him a hand in tracking down the Pleiades. Although Rentaro is disturbed to have Kagutane and Haruko follow after him, he lets them do as they wish. Soon enough, they find the lair where Pleiades is located, but as Rentaro lost his gear earlier while fighting the gastria, he has no other choice than to take it on in head-to-head combat. Hearing that Kagutane gets fired up and joins him, the two of them charge Pleiades, and with their powers combined, they take it down. This enrages all of the gastria presence, and they start moving toward the Tokyo area again. Rentaro's injury slows him down, but before the gastria catches up to him, Haruko grabs him and brings him to safety. Realizing that the gastria are attacking the Tokyo area, Rentaro thanks the two for saving him and rushes after the gastria. Calling in Saitenshi, Rentaro tells her that Pleiades is defeated, so she can send it more firepower to assist the civil officers. The additional firepower arrives quickly, with jets forcing the Gastria to disperse. But then Aldebaran makes its move, destroying the jets. Despite that, they manage to blow its head off, which forces it to signal another retreat while it regenerates. Returning to meet up with his squad, Rentaro is glad to see most of them completely unharmed. Kisara reveals that in the last fight, Gedo got killed by the Gastria, which makes him now the highest-ranked civil officer around, and by law, he is now in charge. On the other hand, Kajetan has decided to follow after Rentaro for a bit longer and observe him how he handles his new role as the commander. Even though the other civil officers are against allowing the masked man to join them, Rentaro manages to convince them to look past that and focus on the common foe, the Gastria. At that point, Rentaro is told that Midori got badly injured in the last battle, which make her body take in too much of the virus, and she is close to losing herself. He quickly visits her, but despite her situation, she is very cheerful, encouraging Rentaro and telling him how grateful she is that she met Shoma, as he was the first person that ever needed her. Suddenly, she excuses herself to the bathroom, telling Rentaro that she might take a while. By the time Rentaro realizes that she has deceived him and escaped with his gun, it is already too late. They start searching for her, and it is Shoma who finds her first, followed by Rentaro shortly thereafter. It turns out that she decided to take her own life before she turned, not wanting to burden anyone else with that task. Rentaro breaks down yet again, apologizing for allowing that to happen. Although Shoma is deeply shaken by this, he snaps Rentaro out of it, telling him to focus on defeating the Gastria if he wishes to properly mourn her passing. To honor Midori's final decision, Shoma decides to keep her death a secret and tell everyone she ran away, so they would not be burdened by it. Shoma's speech reinforces Rentaro's determination, and the very next morning he gives a speech of his own to the remaining civil officers. Noticing the fear and hopelessness in face of Gastria, he decides to make them fear him more with the help of Kagetan and Hiruko. This seems to be working, but Gedo's initiator, Asaka, takes offense to the way he is acting. Shoma steps in and calms her down, stating how he just lost his partner in the last battle as well and would like to partner up with her. Asaka does not wish to have a new partner, but she agrees to team up with him until Aldebaran has been defeated. Suddenly, Mayuri arrives with her unit of weapon specialists to provide backup for Rentaro. They have developed a special bomb capable of destroying Aldebaran, but for the bomb to be effective, it has to detonate from within its body. Thus, the plan becomes to blast open a hole in its body and get the bomb into it, then detonate it after the hole regenerates. With the Gastria on the move and expected to arrive late in the night, Rentaro decides that they will face them at the Flames of Revolution. They immediately begin preparations to set up powerful lights that will help them see and execute the plan in the dark of night. Enju gets overwhelmed by sad memories once she arrives at the Flames of Revolution, as she remembers her former classmates that died in the explosion. Wondering why they are fighting to protect people who would do that, she is comforted by Rentaro, who tells her that she will have to make her own decision on that in the future, but for now they have to fight and survive so that they secure a future in the first place. However, the batteries that are supposed to power the lights never arrive, as the military unit responsible for delivering them is led by Takudo, who is holding a deep grudge against Rentaro. Nightfall comes to the Gastria, but without the batteries, no lights are lit, and Rentaro fears that their position will get overrun without a chance to fight back. It is at this moment that countless floating paper lanterns appear in the sky, shining plenty of light for everyone to see. It turns out that Seikenshi remained behind with all of the cursed children and others who did not get a place in the shelters. And this is their way to offer their hopes and prayers to Rentaro, leaving the fate of the Toiko area in his hands. Seeing that, Rentaro gets motivated to do everything in his power to accomplish the objective. The Gastria get within range and the battle begins. With Tina spotting Aldebaran, Rentaro's squad punches through enemy lines to get to it as quickly as possible. Everything proceeds smoothly, and they are able to plant the bomb deep inside its body. But as the time for the bomb to detonate comes, nothing happens. It turns out the bomb malfunctioned and the countdown stopped with just over 1 second remaining. Rentaro realizes what has to be done and apologizes to Enju, telling her how grateful he is for every moment he spent with her. Before she can respond, he knocks her out and charges at Aldebaran on his own, resolved to deliver a point-blank punch at the bomb, which will trigger the chemical reaction inside of it and detonate it. However, Aldebaran spits its corrosive liquid at him, dissolving his vibranium-made limbs. At that moment, Shoma steps in. Bringing Rentaro to safety, he tells him that he will do it. After all, this technique is best suited for that kind of thing. Asking Rentaro to live on for his sake as well, Shoma charges Aldebaran and hits him with all he has got. His powerful technique reactivates the bomb and it goes off. The blast wave knocks Rentaro out, and once he comes to Enju is at his side. She explains that after Adelbaran got blown up, all the remaining Gastri got confused and scattered, which made them easy to get rid of. 2 days later, the new monolith to replace the broken one is finished, this one far larger and sturdier than the last. Rentaro, Enju, Tina, and Kizara are at Kizara's home, where she has summoned her older brother, Kazumitsu, to have a chat with. It turns out that Kizara did a thorough investigation and found out how Kazumitsu profited from that monolith project by cutting back on the required Varanium for its construction. This made it possible for the Adelbaran to get close enough and corrode it in the first place. Blaming him for everything that happened in this battle against the Gastria, Kizara challenges him to a duel, promising that she will not bring her evidence to light if he defeats her. However, the battle is decided before it properly begins, as Kizara easily cuts off Kazumitsu's leg in the first strike. Seeing he is lost, Kazumitsu begs for his life while giving her the names responsible for the death of her parents. He explains that he, along with his other brothers, decided to stop them from revealing the darkness within their family. It turns out that their parents decided to expose the evil schemes their family was doing for a long time to attain its status in Japan. After hearing that, Kizara, Rentaro, Tina, and Enju leave the house. But as they leave, Kizara's technique takes full effect, taking Kazumitsu's life. Rentaro is furious with Kizara, telling her that she did not have to kill him. But Kizara responds coldly, saying that he will never be able to bring justice to evil people because his heart is too pure. She considers herself to be evil, and that is the reason why she can easily kill other evil people. This makes Rentaro worry that one day he will become her enemy. Thank you so much for staying until the end. I appreciate each and every one of you. You've been fantastic. Bye.